Welcome back to Inside South Florida. Is obesity biologically based? Can eating fish prevent deafness? Here's Dr. Sanjay Jain with those answers and more. Dr. Jain, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
It's great to be here. Nice sunny weather out here. I love it.
Pretty nice. We arranged this just for you. Yeah. We have some really cool topics to talk about. I want to start with this one. A recent study came out that says obese people may be more vulnerable to food cues. Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
So that came from a study from Brigham and Women's. I thought it was very interesting how that study came out. So obese people with food cues. So what I read about it was that people who are obese actually have a tendency to eat food out of habit, not out of just hunger. So this habit is sort of like a vicious cycle that they keep on eating out of habit, but not out of true hunger. And that's what happens, is that their body, especially their brain, kind of has this cue that, we're going to keep on eating. So what that study shows, there's a certain hormone called dopamine, and that dopamine level actually is, researchers found it a little bit different than a person is of normal weight, and that kind of messes with the head. So I think you should eat more. So really, that's what they found in the study. And
if I was interpreting it correctly, not just out of a habit, but they don't even get any joy out of it, right?
Yeah, and that's a bad thing, because you should actually enjoy your food,
right?
And so people who are more overweight, they inhale their food. My mother always told me growing up, hey, chew your food, enjoy it, eat slowly. And people who are a little bit more overweight, they just quickly eat it. They don't get a chance to really enjoy what they're eating. It's more quickly putting it in there. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. And that's why this vicious cycle continues, because they're not really taking their time there. And so that's what they're getting negative cues from.
So if we believe this study and it has something to do with dopamine and now it's biological, what advice do we give overweight people, or what can we do to treat overweight people, considering now it may not just be emotional, it may be what their body's telling them to do?
Portion control is one, eating slowly, because that tells it takes about 30 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that they're full. But if you're eating so fast, you overeat because you inhale your food,
right? And
by the time your stomach tells your brain, hey, I'm full, you eaten too much. So by eating slowly, you give your body time to kind of think about, I've eaten enough.
So it's interesting, because maybe you can't necessarily stop what you're thinking, but you can control it, you can manipulate it a little bit.
Yes, so being mindful, so taking these little tricks of the trade. And I'm not promoting any diet. We go to the bookstore, there's diet this, diet that, and it's very confusing. So this is universal. Portion control, anybody can do it. It's not this diet fad that we're talking about. So that's number one. And then chewing slowly,
right?
Your brain signals a little bit. So these are a few ideas.
This is let's move on to the next topic. This one, I thought this was super interesting. Eat fish, save hearing. That was another study that's come out.
Yeah, so this is a study where it talks about fish as a staple of your diet. About 2 servings of fish a week is actually very good for you. And they gave an example for hearing loss in this. But I'll tell you, fish in other areas of health is so important. It can lower your cholesterol. It's actually brain food. So having fish oil, omega-3s, because the brain is actually composed of fat, and you want to put good fat into your body. And when they say have a fat-free diet, that's actually a mislabel, because you want to have good fats in your body. So avocados, things like that, and the fish have very good fish oils that are very healthy for your body. So people have Okinawa, people have had a high fish diet, actually live longer.
So the fish oil, I've heard so many things over the years. Most of it, good, take it. Mm-hmm. But recently, I know I had heard from a doctor, actually, oh, it's nonsense, don't take it. But so you said you'd recommend taking fish oil?
I believe in fish oil.
Yeah.
I have my parents on fish oil. A lot of my family members fish oil. And why I believe in it is because it's relatively harmless. You obviously don't want to take too much, but you're fighting the bad cholesterol, the bad fat. You're causing a competition in your blood. So you got the good fat you're bringing in with the fish oil and the bad fat, and they're all trying to fight for that position in your arteries. And so what's happened is when you create this competition, the omega fat, which is good for you, would actually kind of, because your body can't absorb all the fat.
Right.
So you're kind of creating that competition. You want to bring that good fat in. So absolutely, this fat is very good for you.
Last question about that is, I had heard a link between fish oil and a decrease in Alzheimer's. Is that true? How do we know about that?
Well, the nervous system they're surrounded by fat.
Right.
So these nerves that we have in our brain cells, they're surrounded by fat. It helps transmit neurons, transmit nervous signals. So by having this fat around your nerves, it's an insulation. So you want to have these fats continually supplying your brain. So absolutely, there is some link to improving dementia and Alzheimer's. Now there's no definite evidence. There's still a lot of research being done, but the link is definitely there.
Okay, a couple minutes left. Tell me about your book.
Well, it's called Optimal Living 360, and it's a book that I wrote because I needed help myself. So I didn't even think about writing a book because I was at a point in my life where I was actually overweight. I was actually 20 pounds over, and I was going through other parts of troubles in my life where it kind of snowballs into a little bit of depression. It affects the relationships. And so after all this research, I actually got great results. I tried personal training before, it didn't work, and I said, this is really frustrating. I understand how frustrating it is. And then I started making these changes after the research. You know what? This is working. So what do I do with this information I've piled up? I have 2 young boys. So I thought, this would be good for my 2 boys. And my wife says, you know what? You got to share with this more people. And that's how this book came about, is because all this research I did to improve my own personal life, I want to share that same knowledge with other people.
So as we say goodbye, 2 questions. 1, how can people get the book? And then 2, give me one sort of tidbit from the book.
Well, it's been a New York Times bestseller,
Right.
which surprised me, and it's available in Barnes & Nobles, your Amazon. And the thing about the book that you'll get, every page has a good tidbit of knowledge. So it doesn't just talk about weight loss and health. I talk about personal finance, spirituality, relationships, and all the tips that you can imagine. That's why it's 360.
Okay, fantastic. And you just named how we can get the book. Pretty much just go online and you can get it.
Yeah.
Right? Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I appreciate it.
We'll have you back.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.